Welcome back. All right, some news of the day for all you fine people on the internet for your Sunday, January the 19th. And the least surprising news is at the top of the board. There will be a hearing, date and time to be determined, for Connor McDavid due to the cross-check on Garland last night. I've seen people saying, hey, Garland was holding him down. Yes, and if you watch far enough back, McDavid was holding Garland down. Garland held McDavid down. Both of them should have had penalties. Cross checks to the face are still frowned upon, and that is a bit of an overreaction to being held down. And then Myers, absolutely ridiculous, bonkers that he just cross checks Bouchard in the face during the same play, and he has a hearing as well. So your guesses are as good as mine on how many games. I'll go ahead and say two games each. We'll see. But for the Vancouver Canucks, of course, that's not the only discussion that's going on. Lots of talk about JT Miller and that maybe he was almost held out of the lineup for last night's game because the trade was closed. Elliot Friedman reporting that the Rangers were close and there was a lot of chatter about a deal. I've seen the New Jersey Devils name tied to Miller as well. Both of those locations would make some sense. The Vancouver Canucks, despite the victories on Saturdays over Toronto last week and now over Edmonton this week, they are not playing overly well considering the other games that take place during the week. You just watched them on Saturday, be like, I don't know what the big deal is. I think this team is fine, but yeah, they're definitely having troubles. And the chatter seems to be around trading Miller, which makes some sense. Miller at this point in time has played pretty well this season, but I think it's obvious that between him and Pettersson, if one's going to have to go, it's going to likely be Miller. I know there's a lot of opinions on that, and so we'll see whether or not Miller gets moved over the next couple of days, but it sounds like there's something on the way, so I'll report on it when it takes place. Cale Makar continues to get into the record books. He is the fifth fastest defenseman to reach 100 goals in his career. It took 362 games for him. Bobby Orr still the fastest at 299. I don't think we'll ever see a defenseman reach that fast. Paul Coffey, it took 300, so one game away. Ray Bourque, 329, and Denny Potvin, 348 games for Potvin to reach 100 career goals. It is notable that three of these were defensemen that played, or two of them are defensemen that would have reached that mark in the 80s, and Potvin, I think it would have been in the 70s he would have reached the 100 goal mark, and I know for Orr it would have been in the 70s as well. So higher scoring era than now? Yes, absolutely. So looking at the power rankings conversation, I'm fine to have this conversation. So looking at the best points percentage over the last month, so over the last 31 days, Columbus is actually first, so we're in Columbus, 769 points percentage. They've been playing very, very well. Washington right behind them at a 767, and Montreal and Edmonton both have a 750 points percentage. Montreal with wins in the last month over Washington, Dallas, Florida, Tampa, Vegas, and Colorado, amongst others. So that's why Montreal's so high up the board. They've been beating some very good teams, and they've looked very good in beating those very good teams. Edmonton, 750 points percentage. Impressive to watch them lately. And Colorado at a 731. So we have five teams producing at a points rate of 700 or higher over the last month. And it is kind of fun to see teams that wouldn't have been expected to be there, like Columbus and Montreal. So maybe they end up in the playoffs, and we'll see how things go. Of course, Ottawa would have something to say about that. Boston, Detroit, maybe Pittsburgh if they can rally. It's interesting in the East. And I will be doing a video on the race in the East, I think today, after the Ottawa-New Jersey game, for instance, which I will not be reviewing on its own. I'll be reviewing that with the other two games that are happening later this evening in the National Hockey League. Charlie McAvoy, Coach Joe Sacco, basically confirming that McAvoy is going to remain out against San Jose tomorrow, and then they're going to reevaluate and see where he's at. Having McAvoy not in the lineup definitely makes a huge difference to that blue line. So the sooner that he comes back, the better that is for the Boston Bruins. It is very noticeable, the difference in their defense without him there. The New York Rangers, very quietly starting to put things together. They have a 7-game point streak going on. They seem to be regaining confidence. Tonight's clash with Montreal should be quite interesting. The New York Rangers below the playoff line, same as Montreal, putting points together like Montreal. And so I think it's a good litmus test for both teams to see if the Rangers have really turned their game around, and to see, can Montreal, now that the expectations have been raised, can they live up to those expectations? Because now they're not going to be sneaking up on teams as much now that everybody knows how well they've been playing. And for the New York Rangers, they definitely have been playing better. So, yeah, that should be a fun one later on today. Linus Ullmark is with the team on the road trip. He's seen his day-to-day. I think this is why Anton Forsberg, and I'm not going to spoil the game that's going on between Ottawa and New Jersey now, but Forsberg's having a really good game, and I think it is interesting how goaltenders tend to have really good games when they know that there's the possibility their job's on the line. Coming into this one, Forsberg 0-4-1 in his last 5 decisions, and knowing how well Marilainen's been playing, I'm not surprised Forsberg's playing his best game of the season right now. Again, I'm not giving any kind of spoilers there because, I'm not telling you who's winning or who's not. But Ullmark being close means that they're going to have to make a decision, and I don't think Forsberg wants it to be an easy decision. So the better he plays in today's game, the more difficult he makes that decision for Ottawa. Forsberg would have to clear waivers. Marilainen doesn't. So the easiest move when Ullmark's healthy is to send Marilainen down to the AHL and to keep Forsberg as the backup. But if Forsberg's record continues to be, shall we say, mediocre, it does get more difficult to keep him around. Think along the lines of like Montreal, right? How many games did they lose earlier in the season where Montreal fans were in the comments saying, it's Caden Primo. Why do we still have Caden Primo? So they waive Primo, they send him down, they bring up Dobesh. Dobesh has won all 4 games he's started, and all of a sudden, Montreal's in the hunt for a playoff spot. And so if you were one of those fans who said, hey, we shouldn't be playing Primo, I think you've been borne out. I think you've been vindicated by Montreal's record over the last month. And it is worthy of looking at what might have happened if Primo wasn't given that job to start the season. Waiver wire news, and just minor news here, but Derek Ryan's been waived by the Edmonton Oilers. I would be very surprised if he doesn't clear. Derek Ryan's, 36, 37 at this point in time. The Edmonton Oilers right up against the cap, of course. They've just added Klingberg, so Ryan gets waived. Josh Brown's also been loaned to the Bakersfield Condors. So for the Edmonton Oilers, it will be interesting to see with Klingberg in the lineup what that does to their defense, how that affects things. But Edmonton's been playing very well over the last month anyways. So there you go. Your top 5 teams in the league over the last month. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. I do get the feeling that this time JT Miller's very likely getting moved. Miller basically last night, his defense of this was whatever happens is going to happen kind of thing. So I think he's resigned himself to the fact that he's not going to be a Canuck for that much longer. And word is as well that Pettersson wants to stay. So the fact Pettersson wants to stay in the market, and Miller's kind of like, fine, I'll go. I understand there's a lot of people who like JT Miller and would rather see the Canucks keep him, but it definitely seems like he's going to be the one to go, and then we'll see what they get in return. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.